This is Old America Journal, and today we're going back to a house you haven't thought about in years. Not your house, your grandparents' house. The one that smelled different from the moment you walked in. The one where different rules applied, quieter rules, older rules, rules that nobody explained but everyone understood. 12 things. Every one of them was there. And by the time we reach number 12, you're going to remember something you haven't thought about in a very long time. Number 1. The candy dish on the coffee table. Glass with a lid, always in the same spot. Always full. Buttermints, chocolate-covered things in foil, occasionally something with a filling you couldn't identify and didn't need to. At home, you asked before taking candy. Here, the dish was simply there, and taking from it was understood. No one said so. It didn't need to be said. The dish existed for this purpose, and you were the purpose. Right next to it, furniture that had been there for decades and was going to stay that way. Number 2. The plastic covers on the furniture. Clear vinyl fitted over the sofa and the good chairs. The furniture underneath was formal, fabric chosen carefully, probably in the 1950s, and the plastic was there to protect it from whatever grandchildren and daily life might do. In summer, the back of your legs stuck to it and pulled away when you stood up with a sound that made everyone look. In winter, the cold came through your clothes. You sat on it anyway because that was where you sat. The furniture under those covers was, in many cases, still in perfect condition decades later, which was the point. The plastic was practical. The next thing was purely ceremonial and had probably never been used once. Number 3. The guest soap. In the bathroom, a bar shaped like a shell or a flower, decorative, from a set, clearly not for actual washing. Next to it, the regular soap. The guest soap was for guests, but guests also used the regular soap. The decorative bar sat there through years of visits, slowly gathering dust, never diminishing, waiting for a category of guest that never quite arrived. Nobody threw it away. It was guest soap. You don't throw away guest soap. From the bathroom to the living room, where everything had a covering, and under every covering, something worth protecting. Number 4. Doilies. Crocheted lace rounds under every object on every surface. Under the lamp, under the vase, under the telephone, under the clock. Your grandmother had made many of them herself, or received them as gifts over decades, and they had accumulated until no horizontal surface was without one. They protected the furniture. They decorated the room. They were never discussed and never moved. They were simply part of what the room looked like. From the surfaces of the living room to the corner of the hallway, where the phone waited. Number 5. The rotary phone in the hallway. Black or ivory, heavy, with a dial that required intention. You put your finger in the hole, pulled it clockwise to the stop, released it, and waited. Then the next number. Important numbers were written on a piece of paper taped to the wall above the phone. In handwriting, you would recognize instantly even now. Phone calls at your grandparents' house were events. The conversation had a beginning and an end. When it was over, she placed the receiver back, and that was that. Down the hall, a room that was always ready for a guest who might never come. Tell me in the comments, what do you remember most about your grandparents' house? Not the big occasions, the everyday details. What was always in the same spot every time you visited? I read every single one. Number 6. The formal dining room nobody used. A large table, chairs with high backs, a sideboard with glass doors, and the good dishes visible through them, not everyday dishes, the good ones, with a pattern around the edges. This room was used on Thanksgiving and Christmas. 363 days a year it waited. Slightly cooler, slightly more formal, smelling of furniture polish and something that was simply the smell of a room always ready but rarely entered. You weren't forbidden from going in. You just understood this room was for occasions. Number 7. The Bible on the nightstand. From the formal room to the nightstand, where the most read book in the house waited. Not decorative. Read. Worn at the spine with ribbon bookmarks and pencil marks in the margins and passages, underlined with a careful hand, sometimes with letters folded between pages or a dried flower pressed flat. Your grandparents read this book every day. The marks in the margins were their conversation with it. The Bible on the nightstand told you more about the person who slept in that room than anything else in the house. It was not on display. It was in use. From the bedroom to the kitchen, where something was always waiting, regardless of when you arrived. Number 8. The tin of homemade cookies. Always there. Always, regardless of when you arrived, regardless of whether anyone had called ahead. A tin on the counter or in the cupboard, with something inside. Shortbread. Ginger snaps. Whatever it was, it had been made in advance because someone might come. And someone always came. The preparation was not optimism. It was simply how the kitchen operated. From the kitchen to the medicine cabinet, its own small archive. Number 9. The medicine cabinet behind the bathroom mirror. Small brown bottles, most with labels written by a pharmacist. The name, the instructions, the date, some filled years ago, some nearly empty, some pushed to the back by newer prescriptions. Your grandmother knew what every bottle was for without reading the labels. This cabinet was the record of a life, of illnesses that had come and gone, of things that had worked and things that hadn't. From the bathroom back to the living room, where the television came on at a specific time. Number 10. The television at the appointed hour. Your grandfather had a chair. The television came on for specific programs. Lawrence Welk on Saturday evening, the evening news at 6:30, Ed Sullivan on Sunday. These were not casual decisions. They were the structure of the week. You watched what they watched. Watching Lawrence Welk with your grandfather, listening to him say something quiet about a song, was its own kind of education in who he was. The television went off when the programs ended, not later, when they ended. Number 11. The tin that used to have something in it. A decorated tin that had originally contained cookies or candy and now stored small things that didn't have anywhere else to go. Buttons, thread, a few coins, possibly out of circulation, a key of uncertain purpose, and somewhere at the bottom, a few hard candies in cellophane, slightly sticky. Every grandparent's house had one of these. The specific tin varied. The contents were essentially identical. Number 12. The smell. Not one smell, a combination. Old books and lavender soap and something cooked recently. Wood furniture and a trace of mothballs from the closet. Coffee from this morning. Something sweet from the kitchen. This smell existed only in this house. You couldn't describe it then. You can't fully describe it now. But if you encountered something close to it in an antique store, in an old building, you would know it immediately. It was the smell of a life lived long enough to accumulate a scent of permanence. 12 things. The candy dish that said yes without speaking, the plastic covers protecting furniture that would outlast everyone in the room, the guest soap that waited forever, the doilies under everything, the rotary phone and the handwriting on the wall above it, the formal dining room holding its breath for Christmas, the Bible with the pencil marks in the margins, The tin that always had something in it. The medicine cabinet with its quiet story. The television at the appointed hour. The other tin full of buttons and old candy. And the smell that existed only there. Your grandparents' house was a different country, built slowly, over decades, by two people who had lived long enough to make a home that felt like them. Tell me in the comments, what do you remember that I didn't mention? The specific thing always in the same spot, the smell of a particular room, the sound the screen door made. We don't just remember the objects, we remember the life around them. Subscribe, because there is a lot more of this country left to remember.